I was flipping pancakes in the kitchen, a perfect Sunday morning routine. Sizzle of batter hitting the griddle, sweet smell of syrup thick in the air, and Ethan and Lucy laughing at the table. Cheryl was putting away dishes, the hum of everyday life wrapping us up like a warm blanket. My family, my real family, was all right here. Then my phone rang. I glanced at the screen, already knowing who it was. "Hey, Mom, Joanne," I said, trying to keep the mood light, but a small knot of tension tugged at me. It always did when she called. "Hi, Mike." Her voice was unusually chipper, almost too much so. For a second, I thought maybe she was trying. Maybe she actually wanted to fix things. My heart did a little jump, a brief flicker of hope that we could all just move on. "We've got Thanksgiving plans," she said, as if the whole conversation was as simple as ordering pizza. "Just wanted to let you know, it'll be a smaller gathering this year. No kids, just adults." My stomach dropped, and I stood frozen for a second. The words didn't sink in. No kids? I blinked as if somehow I'd misheard. She kept going, clearly oblivious to the silence on my end. "Sam's bringing his kids, of course." I felt it like a punch in the gut. Sam's kids, her golden children. It wasn't even about them. It was about Ethan and Lucy, who'd always adored their grandparents, who'd been good to them, even when I wasn't sure how to make things work. They deserved better than this. And suddenly, it hit me. This wasn't just about Thanksgiving. This was a message. A loud, clear, cruel message. I couldn't hide the disbelief in my voice. "Wait, no kids? Our kids?" She paused. Just for a moment, but it was long enough to feel like everything had shifted. "Well, Sam's kids are a little better behaved, you know." Better behaved? My chest tightened. My kids had tried. Every single time, they'd tried. And this is what they got? No invitation? My mind raced, but there was no point in arguing. It was clear now. I wasn't the son she wanted. Sam was the one who got all the praise, all the attention. I just kept trying to make the peace, and it never mattered. I ended the call with a simple, "I'll think about it," though in reality, I was already done. I just didn't know it yet. There was something off about this whole thing, something that left me with a bitter taste, a feeling of being less than. I stood there for a minute, the phone still in my hand, staring at the screen like it held the answers to all the questions running through my head. Better behaved? That line over and over circling my brain. I couldn't shake it. What did that even mean? What was the point of trying? Ethan and Lucy had been nothing but good to them, and yet they were being shut out like they didn't matter. The anger rose, hot and thick in my chest, but I didn't know where to put it. I couldn't even talk to Cheryl about it yet. It was like a weight pressing on my throat, making it hard to breathe. The whole thing felt like a punch I never saw coming. I needed to do something, anything, to make sense of this. I dialed Sam's number, my brother, the golden boy, the one who never had to fight for attention, the one who always got the praise, the one Mom and Dad looked at like he could do no wrong. I waited as it rang. Once, twice, 3 times. "Hey, Mike," he answered, his voice casual, like nothing was wrong. "Got a minute?" I asked, my voice flat, trying to keep it together. "It's about Thanksgiving." There was a pause, the kind where you know something's coming, but you're not sure if you really want to hear it. "Yeah, sure. What's up?" I took a breath, trying to steady myself. "I was just talking to Mom. She said this year, it's just going to be a small gathering. No kids, just you and your family." "Wait, what?" Sam's voice changed, the confusion clear. "What are you talking about? I haven't heard anything about that." I bit my lip, my heart starting to race. "She said your kids were invited, but mine aren't." Sam was quiet for a second, like he was trying to figure out what I was getting at. "That's weird, man. I haven't heard anything about no kids. Honestly, I just thought it was going to be like it always is. Family." "Family," I repeated, a bitter laugh escaping before I could stop it. "Yeah, sure. Family," he sighed, a quick exhale, like he was annoyed I was making this into a bigger thing than it was. "Look, Mike, it's just a family thing, all right? Don't read too much into it. It's not personal. Not personal. Not personal." I felt the sting, the familiar ache, like I had a rock lodged in my chest. Same old song, different day. My brother, the one who always got the pass, the one who could do no wrong, brushing it off like it was no big deal. Like I was the crazy one for being upset. "That's easy for you to say," I muttered, though I wasn't even sure if I wanted him to hear me. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It's nothing. I felt a wave of heat rise in my face. Forget it. I'll figure it out. I hung up before he could say anything else. And as soon as I did, it hit me. The sharp, ugly truth. They didn't care. My parents didn't care about me. They never had. Maybe I wasn't the screw-up Sam had always been, but I wasn't the son they wanted either. I had spent my whole life trying to keep things smooth, trying to make sure everyone got along. But I wasn't the one they called when they needed help. I wasn't the one they leaned on. I was invisible. Again. And maybe, just maybe, this time was the last straw. I couldn't sit with it anymore. I paced around the living room, my mind spinning. What was I even doing? For years, I had bent over backwards to keep the peace with my parents. I'd done everything they asked. Helped them when they needed money, fixed their car when it broke down, put up with their criticisms of my life and choices. And this was how they treated me. No, I'd had enough. I pulled my phone out of my pocket and called Joanne back. The phone rang, once, twice, and then she picked up. Her voice was a little too cheerful, too light, like she wasn't even aware of the mess she'd made. "Mike, did you think about Thanksgiving?" she asked, as if nothing was wrong. I did. My voice was tight, almost too controlled. "And I've made my decision." There was a pause on the other end. "What do you mean?" "I'm not coming. If my kids aren't welcome, then neither am I." I let the words hang in the air between us, feeling the weight of them settle in. I could almost hear her scrambling for the right thing to say. "Oh, Mike, come on," she said, trying to smooth things over. "It's just one dinner, you know? It's not a big deal. You can still come without the kids if you want." Something snapped in me. Not a big deal? All those years of trying to fit into their world, always walking on eggshells, and now she was downplaying it? Like my kids didn't matter? Like I didn't matter? "No," I said, the words coming out sharp and final. "If my kids aren't welcome, neither am I. Don't call me about Thanksgiving again." I heard her start to say something, but I didn't give her the chance. I hung up, feeling my heart thudding in my chest. My hands were shaking. I stood there for a second, my brain still processing. This wasn't about one dinner. It was never about one dinner. This was about everything they had never given me, everything they had taken from me without even realizing it. They always treated Sam like the golden child. They'd always had their favorites. And now they were throwing my kids aside like they didn't belong. A cold, bitter laugh bubbled up from deep inside me. I walked into the kitchen where Cheryl was sitting, reading a magazine. She glanced up at me, sensing something was wrong. "You okay?" she asked softly, her eyes kind. "Yeah," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "I just need to focus on us from now on. No more trying to fix things with them. I've been bending over backwards for years, and it's never enough. But it's enough now." Cheryl put down her magazine and watched me closely, but she didn't say anything. She didn't need to. She knew. I turned back to the counter, staring at the pile of bills and paperwork stacked there. I hadn't really thought about it until now, but I knew what I had to do. I grabbed my wallet and pulled out my credit cards. One by one, I called the banks. I canceled every single card tied to my parents. No more. No more giving them money when they couldn't even accept my family. No more pretending they cared about me when it was clear they didn't. I felt a strange mix of relief and anger. Relief that I was finally doing something for myself, but anger that it had to come to this. Cheryl didn't ask any questions. She didn't need to. She was already on board, and just like that, I felt a small shift inside me, a change. Something was different. I was done being their backup plan, done trying to be the son they wanted. It was time to take control, time to protect my family. The days after I called it all off felt like I was sinking deeper into something heavy, like a weight pulling me down every time my phone buzzed. It started with Joanne, calls, texts, all demanding I reconsider. "Mike, you can't be serious about this," one text said. "Don't do something you'll regret, please." Another, "I never meant to hurt you." And then George, my dad, who hadn't even spoken to me about Thanksgiving until now, suddenly couldn't seem to stop texting. "I don't know what's going on, Mike, but we're family. This can't be it." It was almost laughable. No, it was laughable. All these years, they never once saw how much I had sacrificed for them, how much I tried to fix the holes in their broken world. And now, they wanted me to fix this too. I wasn't going to give in. Not this time. Sam didn't wait long to jump in either. His message came the next day, almost like he was following orders. "Mom and Dad are really upset, Mike. This is a family thing. You're making a huge deal out of nothing. You should stop being so dramatic." dramatic. I couldn't believe it. The audacity of him. Sam, the one who never had to work for anything, the one who was always the golden child. He'd never had to fight for approval the way I did. He'd never been stuck in the middle, always trying to hold everything together, to smooth things over for everyone else. I showed Cheryl the texts, shaking my head. "Can you believe this?" I asked, my voice tight with frustration. She didn't say anything at first, just gave me that look, the one that said she knew exactly how I felt. She knew how many years I'd spent trying to win their approval, how much of myself I'd given to them, and how little I'd ever gotten in return. I leaned back against the counter, my mind racing. All this time, I've been the one who steps in, fixing their mess, covering their asses, doing everything they wanted. And for what? To be treated like this? I slammed my fist against the counter without meaning to, the frustration bubbling over. Cheryl didn't flinch. "You don't owe them anything, Mike. You've given enough." I stared at the screen of my phone, where another message from Sam was waiting. "You don't get it," I said quietly. "I've been invisible to them for so long, and now they just want me to fix it like I always do. But I'm not doing it anymore." Cheryl nodded, her expression softening. "So, don't." I ignored the next few calls from my parents, and the next. I didn't even feel guilty anymore. I just felt a kind of numbness, a calm that settled over me when I realized how much I'd been carrying for so long. Thanksgiving was getting closer, but I wasn't thinking about it. I was thinking about what we were going to do instead. Me, Cheryl, Ethan, and Lucy. No distractions, just us. We'd start our own traditions, ones that didn't come with strings attached, ones that didn't require me to beg for their approval. And then, just when I thought I could breathe again, my phone buzzed again. Another message from Sam. I didn't even look at it. I tossed the phone down on the couch, turning to Cheryl with a smirk. "I'm done with it. It's over. We're making our own plans." She smiled at me then, her eyes full of understanding. "Good. It's time." I could feel something shifting inside me. For the first time, I was making the choice. I wasn't waiting around for their approval anymore. I wasn't letting them pull me back into their world of manipulation and empty promises. This year, Thanksgiving would be different, and I was finally at peace with that. Thanksgiving morning was quiet and calm. Cheryl was already in the kitchen, and the kids were laughing at the table. Cheryl was humming as she flipped the pancakes, and I couldn't help but smile. There was a calmness in the air that I hadn't felt in ages. No looming sense of guilt hanging over me. No fear of disappointing anyone. I'd spent years running in circles, trying to make everything work with my parents, and today I didn't have to. We ate breakfast together, slow and easy, the kids getting syrup everywhere, making us laugh, Cheryl shaking her head, but smiling anyway. It was real, it was messy, and it was ours. I hadn't realized how much I'd been holding in until I felt it all slip away. No more pretending, no more trying to win affection or approval. This was what family was supposed to be about. Love and support. No conditions, no strings. As I poured myself another cup of coffee, my phone buzzed on the counter. It was a text from Joanne. I stared at it for a moment, my heart sinking. I wasn't going to check it. I wasn't going to let them drag me back into their drama, not today. But my finger was already moving before I could stop it. I unlocked the screen. "Mike, I don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to remind you that family is important. You don't get to decide who's in it. You'll regret this. I'm just sad you're choosing to hurt your family. We're still waiting for you, if you change your mind." The message hit me like a punch to the gut. The passive-aggressive tone was clear, but what stung more was how she was trying to make me feel guilty for protecting my own family. Like I was the one doing something wrong, like I was the one who had to apologize. It was the same old pattern, the same manipulation dressed up as concern. I felt a rush of anger, my hands tightening around the phone. I wasn't going to do this anymore. Cheryl must have seen my face because she stopped mid-sentence, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "What is it?" I didn't answer at first. I just put the phone down, shaking my head. She's still trying to guilt-trip me. I thought I was done with all this. I really did. "I know," Cheryl said softly, coming over to stand next to me, "but you're not going back to that. You're not going to let them control you anymore." I nodded, but the words stung. It didn't matter how much I tried to stand my ground. They always found a way to make me feel like the bad guy. But this time was different. This time, I was going to ignore it. I wasn't going to let her pull me back into their world of guilt and manipulation. I had my family. the one that mattered. "Let's just enjoy today," I said, turning to her, forcing the weight of the message out of my mind. "Let's just make it about us." We sat down with the kids, finishing our breakfast, laughing at Lucy's jokes and Ethan's attempts at stacking pancakes higher than his head. In that moment, I realized something. The weight I'd carried for so long was finally gone. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their love, not if it came with strings. We were enough, and that felt like freedom. A few days after Thanksgiving, when I thought things had finally settled, the next bomb dropped. It came in the mail, slipped into my mailbox like any other piece of junk mail. But when I saw the return address, Joanne and George, it felt like a punch to the gut. I ripped the envelope open, already irritated, already on edge. What could they possibly want now? The letter inside was thick, the kind that made your stomach twist just looking at it. I started reading, my hands shaking with disbelief. It was from a lawyer. They were demanding payment for years of financial support they had given me growing up. The letter itemized everything, from groceries to medical bills, school fees to utility costs. Everything they'd paid for when I was a kid. The total? Over $70,000. I laughed at first, a sharp, humorless laugh that felt like a curse. I couldn't believe it. $70,000? What kind of people ask for repayment like that? What kind of parents claim their own son owes them for the privilege of being raised by them? I skimmed the list, each item making my blood boil even more. Food, clothing, car insurance, all things they'd provided, sure. But the assumption that I owed them anything for that? It was sickening. It was like they thought they were doing me some grand favor by keeping me alive. I set the letter down on the kitchen table, feeling the heat of anger rise in my chest, flushing my face. Cheryl was in the other room, making a quick lunch for the kids, but I could hear her humming, unaware of the storm coming. I grabbed the letter again, my hand trembling as I reread the ridiculous demand. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what I was reading. This isn't real. This can't be real. But it was. It was all right there, in black and white, and all I could think was, this was it. This was their final, twisted move. I didn't need to think any more about it. I knew what had to be done. I marched straight to their house, the letter crumpled in my hand, the weight of it a reminder of how little they ever really cared about me. I had no intention of backing down this time. When I arrived, Joanne and George were sitting in the living room, looking surprised to see me. I didn't waste any time. I slammed the letter down on the coffee table between us. "Explain this," I said, my voice flat, controlled, but my hand shaking with fury. Joanne's eyes widened as she glanced at George, but she quickly recovered. "Mike, we're just asking for what we're owed. You know we raised you. This is fair." "Fair? Fair?" The words hit me like a slap. I had spent my entire life trying to please them, trying to keep the peace. And now, after everything, this was how they saw me, as some sort of financial transaction. I laughed again, louder this time, the anger bubbling up and spilling out of me. "You think I'm going to pay this? You think I'm going to fork over $70,000 for what? Because you raised me? You're out of your damn minds." "Mike, don't be dramatic," George said, his tone defensive, but his voice shaking just a little. "We did what we had to do. You have to understand, we gave you everything." "No," I said, shaking my head, the words coming out in a rush now. "You gave me what I needed because you were my parents. You didn't lend it to me. You didn't do it out of some sense of charity. This is not something I owe you for. This is manipulation." Joanne's eyes narrowed, but she didn't flinch. "If you don't pay, we'll have no choice but to take legal action. We raised you, Mike. We did everything for you, and now you turn your back on us? Take legal action then." I grabbed the letter off the table, ripped it in half, and tossed the pieces onto the floor between us. "You've already taken enough from me." I turned and walked toward the door, the sound of Joanne's voice calling after me, but I didn't turn around. I couldn't look at them anymore. It had been a few weeks since I walked out of their house for the last time, and honestly, my life felt lighter. The weight that used to hang over me, like I was always waiting for the next phone call, the next text, the next demand, was gone. I hadn't realized how suffocating it was until it wasn't there anymore. I spent more time with Cheryl and the kids. We went to the park more, just the four of us. No distractions, no lingering thoughts of family drama. I even started taking Saturdays off, just for us. No errands, no work emails, no trying to keep up with my parents' constant need for attention. I got to be with my family, not just rushing through the motions. It was a good feeling, a real feeling. There were moments like when Lucy ran to me after climbing up the slide, her arms stretched out with a big grin, or when Ethan and I had one of our long talks about his latest school project, where I felt a kind of peace I hadn't known existed. These were the moments I'd been missing, the moments I'd let slip away while I was too busy trying to fix a relationship that was broken beyond repair. And that's when it hit me. I'd been fighting for approval that would never come. For years I tried. I played their game, made myself small, bent over backwards to be the son they wanted. But no matter how hard I worked, no matter how much I gave, it was never enough. And the worst part was, I had been okay with that for so long. I had believed that somehow, one day, if I just kept trying, they'd finally see me for who I really was. But that wasn't the truth. And now, I was finally free of that burden. It wasn't just about them anymore. It was about me. It was about my family, about what we had and what we could build together. I wasn't going to spend another minute chasing approval from people who could never see me. Not when I had everything I needed right in front of me. That night, as I lay in bed with Cheryl, her head resting on my chest, I realized that for the first time in a long time, I wasn't worried about their judgment. I wasn't holding on to the fear that I wasn't enough. I had stopped trying to prove myself, stopped pretending like their approval was what defined me. Cheryl squeezed my hand, and I smiled, feeling that sense of peace wash over me again. This was it. This was the life I had fought for. The one where I was free from the past, from their expectations, from the never-ending cycle of disappointment. For the first time in years, I knew I didn't need anything from them. I had my family, my real family, and that was all I would ever need. And in that moment, as I closed my eyes, I realized I'd finally found something I'd been searching for my entire life. Peace. True peace. The kind that comes when you stop looking for validation and start trusting the love you've already got.